Joe, Andy, does his inconsistency almost mirror that of this team in some respects?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, I look at his last start. His last start was probably his toughest start, and you know, I feel good every time Andy takes the mound. I guess similar to our club, every time we take the field, I feel good about our club, you know, going out to win a game. And you know, to me, you have to keep it short and simple, and sometimes you can make it too complicated.
His first 4 starts were so good, last 9 not so much. Did something change?
No, I don't think so. You know, he actually feels great physically, where the first 4, you know, he was still trying to, in a sense, get in a little bit of shape. He was in pretty good shape when we left for spring training, but physically he said he feels as good as he has in a long time, so that's kind of strange.
So he says he feels good about his pitches, but he's not getting the results. So then does it become a head scratcher?
Well, I do that a lot anyway. But, you know, I think it comes down to making the big pitch when you have to. And he's been so good over the years, and I expect him to get back to doing that like he's done so many years for the Yankees.
When there's a pattern of location issues, is it just a bad pitch that keeps being a bad pitch, or is there anything more to it?
No, it's usually you just don't get the pitch where you want to. And that happens a lot in pitching. It happens more than not. I've always felt that if you're going to miss by a wide margin. Don't miss by a little margin, because that's when you get in trouble.
No, we asked this every day for 3 catchers. Is that kind of indefinite?
No, that won't last forever. But it's going to last for a little bit. You know, it's going to last a little longer. You know, we have to make sure. Georgie's just played 2 days in a row. I'd like to get to 3 days in a row next week, but the schedule's a little tricky with, I believe we have night, day, day. So, but we won't carry 3 catchers. You know, we don't plan on carrying 3 catchers, you know, the rest of the year.
You won't do all 3 in Houston?
No.
Maybe the rest of the month, or is it even less than that?
Well, I mean, we got to watch. We just got to watch him closely. He feels good right now, which is a good sign. And, you know, he's anxious to start playing 4 or 5 days in a row, but we have to be smart about it.
So in a couple of weeks, you've got an off day and then 3 night games in Pittsburgh. Could that be the first time you've seen
That's a real good shot. I'm not that far ahead on the schedule like you are, but obviously you know,
But it seems like
you had some plans.
Yeah, it seems like you want to avoid the day game after night game.
Well, it's short, and physically, you know, George has caught a lot of games over his career, and you want to keep him fresh and keep him strong, and that's important to me. You know, next week I might do a day game after a night game. You never know.
As far as getting the 3 in a row, though, that seems to be getting
yeah, that's probably more in the way than actually physically. Yeah, he was telling me he was okay yesterday. He actually said, is there any chance? And I said, well, there's slight chance. He said, that's all I needed to hear. So he gave me a big smile, but he's fine. He said he felt good yesterday.
Maybe the last time Job will be on a limit. What you said, 95.
Well, you know, he'll never be on an unlimited, but
nobody is. But he'll be caught up with everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be caught up. Yes, correct. Yes.
Is this the first time you could look at Job in the first couple of innings and not get anxious just to see where that number is going? Because 95 is a pretty good number.
You know, I wasn't necessarily so anxious because you knew what the number was. You know, when there's a definite, I think it takes some of the anxiousness away. Obviously, you know, that first game we would like to see him have a shorter first inning. But, you know, when there's a plan in place, that usually takes the anxiousness away.
He flew ahead, didn't he?
Yeah.
Starting to feel semi-normal.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this feels pretty normal, you know, because you look at our other pitchers, they stay around anywhere from 100 to 110, 90 to 110. So, I mean, this is pretty normal now.
Joe, I know we've asked you about Cano a few times this year. Are you sort of surprised that he's still sticking where he is this long into the season?
You know, it's this month's been some ups and downs. You know, he's had some good games. He's had some games where he swung. I actually thought he swung the bat pretty good last night. It didn't really have much to show for it. Joey Gathright seemed to get in the way a little bit at home. He got in the way of a lot of things, though. So actually, you know, the last few days, I think he swung the bat pretty well. You know, he could have had a couple base hits last night, but, you know, good defensive plays.
Do you have any sense at all that teams are, doing things with him or finding spots on him that they can pitch to him, and he just hasn't made the adjustment yet?
No, I don't necessarily think that. I think Robbie's still the same guy, and at times he'll get a little anxious, but he's always been a little anxious. I mean, that's who Robbie Cano is. Robbie's always been the type of guy that's going to swing the bat early in the count. And there's been some games he's gotten himself out, but for the most part, he's been okay.
When he swings that early in the count, he's done that and hit 300.
Yes.
And now he's doing it at 220. Is that something you don't necessarily talk to him about?
Well, you don't necessarily think that's the problem. You talk about getting a good pitch to hit, and being a guy that swung at the first pitch a lot, I can understand that. It doesn't necessarily bother me as much as maybe a manager who was a patient hitter. I couldn't be a patient hitter. It just wasn't in my DNA. And the last thing you want to take away from Robbie is his aggressiveness, because then he might become a passive hitter, and that's what I don't want.
Sometimes he was telling me that he knows he can hit almost any ball, kind of no matter. Does that work against him sometimes?
Probably sometimes, yeah. When you've hit every ball in your career and you have that type of confidence, sometimes it can work against you. Yes.
I'm curious.
I didn't have that.
Do you get up in the mornings, look at the paper, the standings, and see that you're 500 again?
No, I really don't. No. I might look at a box score, the next team we're playing, to see what their lineup is, and but I really don't look at the standings because it's pretty fresh in my head what it is.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to a day that we don't ask you about 500?
Yes, I would really love to stop having to answer that question.
Why is Melky sliding in at first so much time?
Well, we've talked to him a couple times about it. You know what? The hardest thing sometimes to do is that's an aggressive move, and as a player, and Bernie did it all the time. You, in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to hustle. I'm going to get there quicker, but you don't. So it's a mindset of, in a sense, almost over hustling, and it's just something you have to learn. Bernie did it for a long time, and we used to, get on Bernie and tell Bernie, you got bad shoulders anyway. Don't do it, or you get your finger stepped on. We don't want you to go on the DL, and it's an over aggressive play.